Fuck, that's actually kind of creepy. Hello, people. I'm Guy in a Hoodie. Well, I'm the puppet. I'm the puppet possessing guy in a hoodie. And the FNAF movie 2 released. And what better way than to dress up like a little fucking lunatic and talk about it. Spoilers ahead. I am 100%. This is a 100% spoiler review. I mean, this movie's been out. If you're a FNAF fan, if you care about a review of this movie, then you probably already seen it because you're a FNAF fan and you're gonna see it opening day like me. Right off the bat, do I think it's good? Objectively speaking, I think it's like a 4 out of 10 movie. I don't think it's like 11% on Rotten Tomatoes. Objectively speaking, it is a 4 out of 10. Subjectively speaking, I give it a 9 out of 10, because goddammit, I'm a biased FNAF fan, okay? So yeah, I don't think it's a 10 out of 10 FNAF movie, which I'll get into in a little bit. But yes, obviously, there's a lot of people who fucking hate this movie, man. And I can understand why. This movie is very convoluted, very weird and complicated. It's not very scary. It has cheesy-ass dialogue. But two of those things I like. So the scare factor is obviously one of the bigger complaints, that it's just not scary at all, which it isn't. Let's face it, it's not. Is it scarier than the first movie? Not really. I would argue they're actually like pretty samey on the whole like scariness level. They're both not really that scary, but they both have really cool kills. The Freddy bite and the Mango rip apart thing. That was probably my favorite part of the movie because it was the scariest part. The whole ghost hunting group, the first half was actually pretty cool. I like that. That was probably one of the better scenes and the scariest scene. Then you also have like the Vanessa dream sequence where she goes to her childhood home with William Afton being there. That was also kind of somewhat scary, especially when the like baby was there. That was crazy. When I saw that shit, I literally went like this. I literally leaned forward because I was just shocked that she was there. I was just not expecting that at all. I went there opening night, obviously December 5th, with one of my best friends, and I went in the whole Spirit Halloween Freddy Fazbear costume, so that was fun. Now one of the other major parts of complaints is the whole puppet possession thing, specifically in the FNAF fandom, because that is like completely new. Outside of like recently with the whole like Glitch Trap and Vanessa and Vanny and stuff, there hasn't been much of like brainwashing or possession in Five Nights at Freddy's, kind of like how the first movie introduced a lot of like dream stuff with the whole like dream, when Michael would go to the dream realm to find his brother. At first, when I was watching the movie, I was a bit bothered by it because it was like completely out of left field, like we never seen that before, specifically with like the puppet and stuff. But the more I think about it, I don't really mind it. I mean, it works for the plot, which this is worse plot. But like it works. I think it's fine. The design is kind of cool, with the whole like human possessed by the puppet thing. Yeah, like, it makes sense. Like, why wouldn't? I mean, this is why are we drawing the line at that? It makes complete sense. If anything, it's kind of like leaning more towards the supernatural side of FNAF rather than like the whole science fiction stuff that's happening a lot lately. So it is kind of cool that it's like Scott Cawthon did that whole part of like more supernatural stuff, which is kind of cool. I don't mind it. I think it's fine. But I do understand why people don't like it. Speaking of Scott Cawthon, fun fact: the first movie he co-wrote. The second movie he wrote all on his own, which would explain a lot. It would explain why this is not the most captivating, like emotional story. It explains why it's like just weirdly somewhat paced. Like the first half, barely anything happens, and the second half is nothing but stuff happening. I don't mind that either. I do find it funny how like once it starts like going, it just keeps on going. It never like slows down or like barely at all. It is very entertaining. You have to admit this. It is entertaining as shit. All right, you are not gonna be bored watching this. The plot is obviously very convoluted. I mean, it's FNAF. That's kind of the whole point. Part of it at least, whether intentionally or not. I think obviously when it starts it's very like weird, but like by the end of the movie you kind of like understand what the fuck's going on. So it's actually kind of works. You know, it starts off mysterious, but then by the end you get some answers. Not everything. I think it's probably you're not gonna get every answer, but you get some answers. It makes things a little bit clearer. But I did have to explain to my friend what the fuck was going on constantly. It like ties to the games and shit. The dialogue. The dialogue. Another thing that a lot of people don't like is the dialogue is very cheesy and it's very corny. I kind of like cheesy dialogue. I don't know. I don't know. It has a charm to it. Obviously, it's not good. It's not objectively speaking. It is dog shit. But I don't know. It's fun. It's fun. Obviously, it would be better with a movie if it didn't have cheesy dialogue. But I think the cheesy dialogue adds like a little bit of charm. Obviously, again, I am very biased. Fucking look at me. I'm gonna be very biased. Don't just take my opinion as like gospel or fact. Okay, you can do whatever. You can have your own opinion. But me personally, I kind of like how cheesy the dialogue was. The teacher especially, that motherfucker is cheesy as hell. But mostly because he's Wayne Knight. I mean, that's kind of his whole thing, to be cheesy and weird and shit. That was a bit much. It kind of reminded me a lot of the aunt from the first movie, how like weird her dialogue was, and how like cartoonishly evil she was. Honestly, I kind of like the aunt more than the teacher. Cause like I feel like Wayne Knight does it a bit too much. He's doing a bit too much. He's a bit too over. But I don't hate it. I just go, it could have been better. The one thing that's stopping me from giving this a 10 out of 10 as a FNAF movie rather than a 9, when it is like a 9 out of 10, is mainly the usage of Michael Afton, Mike Schmidt, and Henry Emily. And also the Withers. They barely fucking do anything. The Withers show up for one scene, and they're like immediately like stop. There's not much tension, because like there's never like you never get this sense of like, oh, Mike is in trouble, he's gonna die. Nah, it's like he's gonna be perfectly fine. I mean, fucking Wither Bonnie opens the vent, and then Mike just closes it, and then he's gone. That's it. My boy, Withered Bonnie, fucking one of my favorite characters of the whole series. He goes up there for like 2 minutes best, and then he's gone. But it was very cool to see them. Obviously, the practical effects are amazing as always. Fucking awesome robots and costumes and shit like that. The actors of Megan Fox, Kellen Goff, and Matt Pattis and Toya Mconis, they were cool. They were good. But you can kind of excuse that with the Withers. You know, they're side characters. They don't really matter in the whole grand scheme of the plot. Both in the games and in this movie, they don't matter. They're just kind of like obstacles to things. However, Henry Emily and Michael Afton, they're like two of the most important characters of the whole series. They barely do shit in this movie. They're played well by their actors. I will say that, especially Michael Afton doing that weird SOA. I like that, the whole fucking movie. That's fun. I like that. However, Michael Afton shows up at the beginning, and then he shows up at the end. But like, kind of like similar to William Afton in the first movie. But at least William Afton like does stuff. Michael Afton, he helps kill the Ghost Hunter stuff. So that was kind of cool. That was kind of interesting. I liked him at the beginning. But then at the end, he just shows up and talks to like Vanessa and gets mad. He doesn't really like do anything. And it's weird that he's a bad guy in this one. There are theories that he is actually being, controlled by Enter, like he is in the games. Which, if that's true, that would be very cool. However, I don't know if that's going to be 100% true, because that sounds like something too good for Scott Cawthon to come up with. He's not very known for thinking ahead. No offense, Scott Cawthon, if you're watching this. If you're doing that, keep doing that. If you're not doing that, you may want to consider doing that, unless you have something better somehow. Then you have Henry Emily. Again, he shows up one scene. Like, the father of the killer, of Charlotte, the puppet, me. He's the father of the girl. And he shows up at one scene. He has, like, the end. He has, like, the post-credits, like, dialogue, which was cool. But again, he only talks to like Mike for like a little bit, and then he just gives him the music box, and then he's gone for the rest of the movie. It's kind of weird, considering he's like such an important character. Speaking of Mike, not Michael, Mike. The fuck's his deal? So like at the beginning of the movie, he's trying to like move on, right, from the events of the first one. Trying to like get rid of like the whole trauma, trying to live a normal life, which it's fine. I get that. That works. That's like an interesting character arc thing. I don't know. Interesting plot point, I guess. And the relationship with Vanessa kind of works until the very end, where he's like tells her to just fuck off because he doesn't trust her. That being said, I kind of get why you don't really trust her that much. After all, she was kind of keeping a lot of secrets from you. From the beginning of the first movie up until this movie. She was lying about being the daughter of the killer. She was lying about her brother. She was lying about being more robots at a different location, all that shit. Obviously, I understand being mad at that. However, she is probably like one of the main, if not the sole fucking reason why you were able to fend off against like the toy animatronics or try to save Abby. Like if it wasn't for her, you wouldn't do shit, Mike. You didn't do jack shit this whole movie other than like deactivate the robots in the office, which at the end didn't even matter because they just get reactivated again. The Wizards, Michael Afton, Mike Schmidt, and Henry Emily, they're the reasons why I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10 and only a 9 out of 10. Speaking of the credits, they play the second Living Tombstone song of It's Been So Long, which makes sense, but also not really, and I think like you could have picked something else. Obviously, it makes sense. It's the second Living Tombstone song. You had the first Living Tombstone song, Fantasy Freddy's, in the first movie. You're gonna put It's Been So Long in the second movie. It makes sense, right? However, one, I think it's kind of like a bit lame to just pick Living Tombstone again. I mean, like much of like what made the thing is in the first movie so special is because you didn't expect it, right? It was out of nowhere. So to just get that Living Tombstone again for the second movie, it's a lot less special because a lot of people were kind of like already kind of expecting that. It would have been much more surprising, much more fun if you picked like a completely other artist, like I don't know, like Try Hard Ninja or JT Music or something like that, right? And the problem with It's Been So Long, especially in comparison to the other FNAF Living Tombstone songs, is that it's not very accurate. At least in comparison to other songs, especially in comparison to the first Living Tombstone song. That shit is like surprisingly accurate, considering that it was just based on the first game and nothing else. However, for like the second one is talking about like this random kid is the puppet, and like William Afton's wearing like the Freddy Fazbear suit, and like there's this random mom and stuff, which is not accurate at all. Obviously, you can't really blame them for making that song at the time. However, the problem is that it doesn't age well, so it's just kind of weird that you chose a song that not you. That the studio, Blumhouse, chose a song which is not accurate. And it makes sense why you chose it. It's the second song by the same artist as the first one. But that leaves it to be kind of lame and not very accurate. But it was still cool. It was still very cool to hear that in the movie theater. And then there's the after credits scene of Final Fantasy Freddy's 3 with Springtrap. Real quick, just want to say, when his singular eye lit up, that immediately reminded me of Sans Undertale, and I thought that was really funny. So Final Fantasy Freddy's 3, obviously, is going to be based on, obviously, but specifically, Springtrap. He's going to come back, he always comes back, he's going to come back and be the main villain, which is very exciting, because like, part of what makes Springtrap and William Afton cool is that you see like how he acts in like, before he gets Springlock. He's like a jolly villain, he has fun with like playing with his victims and stuff like that. But then you have Springtrap, which is like a lot like darker, like his voice is darker. He's like he's more sadistic. He's like I'm not fucking around no more. Which I really hope he's that way. I really hope he's like tones down a little bit of like the whole fun factor. Not that he can't have fun. Obviously he can have a little bit of fun. I mean, one of his lines in Dead by Daylight is "I'm the fun one." I have hope for the FNAF 3 movie. I think it has the potential of being the best one. That would be really cool if it was the best one. Hopefully, since it's Springtrap, since he's like one of like the scarier robots in the characters in the game, hopefully FNAF 3 will finally be actually scary as compared to FNAF 1 and 2. By the way, Scott or Blumhouse or Emma, if you're watching this, please make Final Fantasy Freddy's 3 rated R. Okay? The franchise is 13 years old. Would be 13 years old by that point. It's probably gonna come out in 2027. Just like, 2023, 2025, 2027. Makes sense. By that point, the first movie is already 4 years old. The kids who grew up watching that, and your fans that already exist, by that point have already become older. Okay? By that point, I think you can get away with making the third movie rated R. that will be a nice little send-off to make it scarier, to have a little bit more blood, right? Most of your die-hard fans by that point have already aged up, and you're using Springtrap. That motherfucker is a walking corpse, okay? He kills kids. Please actually make it scary, and please make it rated R. At least like prove the non-believers wrong. Let's say FNAF isn't scary. Prove them wrong, okay? So yeah, overall 9 out of 10 FNAF movie, 4 out of 10 normal movie. I like it more than the first one, honestly. It's more fun. It is way more rewatchable. I tried rewatching FNAF, the first FNAF movie a while ago, and it was a little bit of a slog. Not too much, obviously, because of the ending is awesome. But I feel like in the end, in long term, FNAF 2 is going to be way more like rewatchable in comparison to the first one. So yeah, I will see you all eventually.